We are here in Gering Street in the Cape Town suburb of Bishop Lavis, and it was here about 19 hours ago that SAPS investigator Lieutenant Colonel Charl Kinnear was assassinated in front of his house. And it was here outside his house at approximately 3:20 on Friday afternoon that residents first heard the bullets echoing through the suburb.
On the afternoon of September 18, 2020, just after 3 o'clock, a white Toyota Corolla turned into a quiet street in Bishop Lavis, Cape Town. Behind the wheel was one of South Africa's most respected detectives, Lieutenant Colonel Charl Kinnear. He was arriving home after another long day investigating some of the country's most dangerous criminal networks. What should have been an ordinary moment, parking his car in front of his home, became his final seconds. Before he could drive through the gate, a hail of bullets tore through the vehicle and ended his life instantly. Charl Kinnear was not just another officer. He had spent more than 30 years in the South African Police Service, rising to become a senior detective and a leading figure in the anti-gang unit. His reputation preceded him: fearless, principled, and unwilling to bend even when corruption crept into the ranks above him and around him. He built a career on going after gang bosses, organized crime figures, and the networks of influence that protected them. At the time of his death, Kinnear was deeply involved in investigating a major Guns for Gangs scheme, an alleged operation in which firearms that were meant to be destroyed were instead finding their way into the hands of criminal groups. His work was exposing connections stretching from street-level gang members to powerful figures in the underworld, including a man well known in Cape Town's criminal landscape.
25 minutes after the shooting at 3 p.m. At 15:25, Killian shoots off one last ping. And then he pings no more. In fact, he just stops pinging. Not even the next day or the day after. Pinging is finished.
Now, the state is expected to continue with the cross-examination of alleged underworld gang boss Nafis Modak today in the High Court in Cape Town. Yesterday, the court heard that one of Modak's co-accused, Zane Killian, used at least 9 separate contacts under different names to convey information to Modak about the pinging of top cop and anti-gang member Charl Kinnear.
Kinnear had gone further than just investigating criminals. He had filed a formal complaint describing a plot against him and other officers, a complaint that pointed toward a rogue group operating within crime intelligence itself, people who, according to him, were working hand in hand with criminal syndicates. He believed some of these officers were compromised. Naming them meant putting his life at even greater risk. But Kinnear was not one to look away. He altered his driving patterns. He made sure he was armed, and he knew his phone was being pinged, tracked repeatedly by unknown individuals. That awareness didn't save him. In the days before his murder, those warnings had grown louder. Authorities later found that his cell phone had been tracked thousands of times, as if someone were watching every move he made. Months earlier, in late 2019, there had already been an attempt on his life when a hand grenade was placed outside his home. It failed to detonate. After that, he was given police protection. But in December 2019, that protection was suddenly withdrawn. Kinnear had voiced concerns about the intelligence structures responsible for safeguarding him, believing that elements within the system were compromised. Despite the threats, despite the previous attempt on his life, he was ultimately left without any active protection on the day he was assassinated. That September afternoon, as he sat in his parked car, a man in a red hoodie appeared, captured by security cameras in the area. The man approached the driver's side and fired multiple shots at close range. The attack was swift, calculated, and cold-blooded. It had the hallmarks of a professional hit. News of his death sent shockwaves through the police service and the country. Killing an anti-gang detective wasn't just murder, it was a message. It signaled that the underworld was willing to take on the state directly, and that even high-ranking officers were not untouchable. Slowly, investigators began piecing together what had happened. Suspicion quickly fell on organized crime circles. One of the central figures drawn into the investigation was Nafis Modak, long linked to nightclub security operations, extortion networks, and criminal enterprises across the Western Cape. Evidence later presented in court pointed to a man named Zane Killian, a former rugby player, who had allegedly pinged Kinnear's phone more than 2,000 times in the days leading up to the murder. Prosecutors claimed Killian had been in communication with Modak using multiple cell phone numbers, some saved under names like Nafis, Modak, or Ghost. The state argued that the tracking of Kinnear's phone, the connections between Killian and Modak, and the timing of these communications built a compelling picture of a coordinated operation. To them, it was clear that Modak was part of the plot to eliminate the detective who posed the greatest threat to his operations. But Modak denied everything. He insisted there was no proof tying him to the murder. His lawyers argued that phone pings and indirect communication did not prove that he ordered or even knew about the assassination. The courtroom became a battleground between two narratives, one claiming a carefully orchestrated hit carried out by an underworld boss and his associates, and the other painting a picture of circumstantial evidence being stitched together without definitive proof. Yet the deeper questions still linger. Why was Kinnear's protection removed so soon after a grenade attack on his home? Why was no permanent surveillance or support placed outside the residence once threats escalated? Why did the warnings about phone tracking not trigger urgent intervention? And perhaps the most troubling question of all, how far does corruption within the police service truly reach?